story, your life, your purpose is worthwhile, just as worthwhile as everybody else's. So why can't you realize your dream? Maybe you just have this deeper something on your heart that you're aching to bring forth and step into and realize, but you just don't know how. This is the video for you. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm having a little bit of tea. I was journaling this morning. Let me just pour the tea first and then I'll tell you the tea. So I was journaling this morning about what video I should make, as I always do. If you don't know me, if you don't know who I am, what credentials I have, hello, my name is Tiana. Basically, I've been on a journey of self-discovery, a journey of realizing my dreams for the past few years now. Part of our purpose here is to create our art. Each of us has a unique expression of what we want to create, how we want to show up in the world. What I've learned throughout the past few years is that so often the world wants to confine us to certain limitations or rules, wants to place restrictions on what that art can be and what it should look like. And I really do believe that the most beautiful, worthwhile thing we can do is create our art, realize our dreams in the most true to us way possible. It's one thing to feel this inkling on your heart that you're meant for so much more, but it's a completely different ballgame when you try and add context and layers to that. Yeah, I really just want to create a video just giving you a little sense of encouragement that if you do feel something stirring on your heart, if you do feel that you're destined for something bigger, to trust those feelings. I want to use some generalized terms, but know this is applicable to you in whatever stage of the game you might be in whatever way that wants to express, whether you are a painter who wants to paint and sell their actual physical tangible art for a living and create an abundant, rich life doing that. If you're somebody who wants to jump into content creation and is a little bit nervous or hesitant to put yourself out there, I definitely was there as well. If you're somebody who wants to dance, who wants to sing, and maybe it's not even for monetary value, maybe you just have this deeper something on your heart that you're aching to bring forth and step into and realize, but you just don't know how. This is the video for you. Because in a world that dictates and puts all of these parameters on you, I think one of the most important and surefire and true things that we can do is get back in touch with our own intuition, our own internal voice. And that could be something that you define differently, right? You could say God, Holy Spirit, you could say gut feeling, you could use whatever lexicon you want to use. But when you center yourself and find an internal navigation system anchored in what you know to be true, your experiences, not what other people dictate or suggest that you should do, that is where you find your truest path. So for the past 3 years, I've been on this journey of saying, okay, let's quiet the noise of the outside world. What does Tiana think? Figuring out this complex, dynamic inner landscape and learning that I can trust that. Figuring out what tools help me ignite that, so that that inner flame that's inside, that's burning, that's something that whispers to you that there is more for you, that you need to realize your dreams, create your art, find your purpose, is in fact something that can be trusted and something that is true. But you may be sitting there wondering, I hear you, completely agree with what you're saying. There is something deeper inside me calling me, but I don't know how to bring that to life. How do I express myself? How do I take the necessary steps to realize my dreams and to create my art and to put myself out there as truthfully as possible into the world? All great questions to be asking yourself, and I think that if you're at this stage of asking yourself those questions, it means that you really are ready to embark on this journey of figuring out what life could look like on your terms and not to the shoulds of other people. One thing I want to encourage you to do, and I know this is probably going to be something where you're like, psh, why would she open up with that? But is to sit in this darkness, sit in this void, sit in this frustration, and let it bloom and open up around you, because all of the information in this time is good information for you. Even though it can be uncomfortable, even though it can be disorienting, all of this information, whether it's a door closed on an opportunity that you thought was a surefire thing, whether it's something somebody said that triggers you, whether it's receiving some beautiful, bountiful gift, no matter if it's good or bad, it is all information that's going to help you reconnect and get back in touch with your truth, your internal navigation system, your compass. Think of it like this. It's all little nuggets, little signals in the world that say, hey, look at me. And then you get to take a magnifying glass, take a microscope, look at it really in depth and decide, is this for me? What information is this telling me about what I desire, about where I'm trying to go, about this deeper purpose that I'm longing to bring forth into the world? And so why, yes, it can be sad, it can be miserable, it can be so hard, and also really joyful and really exciting and exhilarating. I encourage you to, when you're feeling discomfort, when you're feeling an overwhelm of emotions, don't flee from that. Really anchor in and use this as information in the unfolding, the telling of your story. Now, I do have some tools and resources and practical things to kind of help you navigate that process. But that's the first thing I want to say is don't run from your emotions. Don't run from yourself, because while it is scary, I mean, there's really no other way to put it. While it can be scary, there's also some sacred power there that if you're willing to stand in the midst of it long enough, will always lead you in some really profound places. So just remember that when things feel uncomfortable, sit in that, stay in that, and remember that it's all part of this story that's unfolding for you. If we're talking about practical applications, right? We've established you're in this stage of darkness, you're in this stage of discomfort, you're sitting with it, you're allowing it all to be good, useful information for you. How then can you take necessary steps to evolve, to grow, to advance in this journey? One thing that's really important is belief. I don't mean belief to be trite, but I think there has to be a point when you actively show up and choose to decide that your story matters, that you have a life worth creating art, realizing your dream, that you're worth it, essentially. A thought that I've been trying on lately that feels really good to me, that I want to offer up to you to see if it fits as well, is this idea that we're all created from the same magic. If you think about this and you think about how the world first began, and whether you take a scientific approach or a spiritual approach, it doesn't really matter. Each of those origin stories points to the fact that we all started from the same thing, right? And if we're all made of the same stuff, then we're all simply at a base level beautiful materializations, unique materializations of that same stuff. So you may look at somebody and think, wow, they have it all together. Of course they have all of these things that I want because they're them and I'm me and everything works out for them. No, what you're seeing in them is that same potential for the realization of your dreams that you have. We all have the same potential. Now, our circumstances might be different, and I don't want to negate privilege and a lot of the very real things that take place in the world today, but I'm saying on a foundational base level, we all have the same potential to realize our dreams, and that if you're seeing that in somebody else, I would bet really good money that you're witnessing it, because that internal flame, that internal navigation system within you is sparking something, telling you you're on the right path. Keep going, keep asking questions, keep following the nudges. What this means is that we can't place anybody's story, anybody's art, anybody's dream as better than or less than anybody else's, and especially not better than or less than yours. I think what it comes down to is believing that your story, your life, your purpose is worthwhile, just as worthwhile as everybody else's. So why can't you realize your dream? Why can't you create your art? Why can't you have the career that you want to and make the abundance that you want to as well? Why can't you create content? Why can't you have an audience? Why can't you start the business? I think everything is rooted in this belief that A, your story is worthwhile, that your story deserves to be heard, and B, that even though the things that we're dealing with are intangible, ineffable, they can be trusted, right? What I'm asking of you, I know sounds a little crazy. It's believing in something unseen, it's trust, it's faith, it's all of these things. But I think in order to embark on this journey where you do make active steps to realizing your dreams, you do need to have a little bit of that craziness, a little bit of that belief that anything is possible. And that yes, you are an envoy for divine, magical, wonderful, abundant things to happen. I truly believe that for every single person on this planet. And so it's just about whether or not you believe it too. I think past that point of belief, another idea that I've really been trying on is this idea that if we are all envoys for possibility, for magic, for divine, cool, amazing, abundant things to happen, then really self-expression is all about integration of that ineffable into our physical beings, our physical bodies, letting ourselves, our life, our story be an expression of that magic. And that's where the uniqueness comes in. That's where really tapping into and listening to and aligning to yourself and what you desire expresses itself. And I think desire brings up a really good point. Often for me, when I was in this stage, I could get to the point of belief. I could get to the point where I felt like my story was worthwhile. I mean, it was hard on certain days, don't get me wrong. There were days I definitely wanted to have a pity party and believe that maybe it's just not in the cards for me. And that just is what it is. But I think overall, when I let myself move past that sadness just a little bit, I did have this internal, deeper belief that my story was worthwhile. And I have newsletters all about this that I will leave in the description box. If you want to go a little deeper into what these processes looked like, I have very real, very in-depth looks into where I was at in those really dark moments that you can read. For me, the integration part was found in listening to myself and my body, not just in these big meta situations of like, yeah, my story is worthwhile, these bigger archetypal themes, but on a really grounded, practical level, listening to how my body responded to certain situations, to sitting with certain people, to sitting down in the quiet, giving myself, even if it was just a beat of time, to say, what do you want in this instance, Tiana? And following those nudges, because I think something that I realized is that not just our beliefs about ourselves and what's possible is so influenced by the outside world, but also what we think we should be doing. So I'll give you a really good example. So I own my own business. It's a design and branding company. And last year I had 4 contractors / part-time employees working for me. And so an internal struggle I would constantly be pushed up against is my heart is telling me that I want to write, or I want to create content, or honestly that I just want to take a break. But my mind, what I've been conditioned to believe is that I need to be working. I need to be online on Slack just in case somebody needs something for me, because what does that say about me if I'm not fully attentive to the people who have entrusted their livelihood and their careers to me, to my clients, to my business? And that's where that paradox comes in. That's where that you really have to recenter and align with not what you think you should be doing, but what feels right from this internal place. And I will admit that once you get to that place of realigning with yourself, actually making the decision, the choice to show up in that space and advocate for yourself is really hard. There would be times when I would sit at my desk all day waiting for some sort of fire to put out, even though my body was telling me to take a break, even though my body was telling me this is not what you're meant to be doing in this moment. Advocating, choosing your true north, digging into that time and time again is so very difficult. So when I talk about integration, I talk about giving yourself the space and time to tune in and decide and ask yourself, what do you really want? Not what is the dream because my parents told me this is what was value. Not what is the dream because this is what I think is going to garner me status or success, or what is going to prove to my ex that I actually am worthwhile. But what is it that I want to do from this internal place when I quiet the noise of the outside world? And that could be as simple as, what do I want to have for breakfast this morning? How do I want to be spending my time? In what order do I want to structure my schedule? And if you're at a corporate job, which I know can feel even more constricting, more confining, asking yourself in small moments, when do I want to take my break? What do I want to do on that break that's really going to fulfill me? No matter how small the act may seem, each time you check in to align with your truth, to align with your internal voice, I guarantee you it will always lead you to the places that you want to be. And if you can't get to the place of doing that every single moment, every single time, and I would wager that nobody does that all of the time because we live in this human existence and that's just really hard. When you can get to that point of advocating for yourself, tuning in, that's when we start to see step by step the dream unfolding. And that's when we see and realize that we can trust ourselves, that this internal something that's whispering to us is there for a reason. And not only that, but it's not going to give up on us. It's going to appear to us in triggers, in jealousy, in exhaustion, in joy. And I think joy brings up a really good point. The flip side of that coin is following the internal nudges of what you freaking love, right? For so long, I would deny so many aspects about myself. I am half Asian, half Black. There's a part of me that really loves like fruit with tahini. There's a part of me that loves R&B music. There's a part of me that loves all of these things like pickles. And I grew up in predominantly, white landscapes, and there's nothing against white culture, but I thought to be accepted, to be loved, I needed to temper the things that I loved. I can't show people that I like those things, even though that's what made my internal system happy, because I wanted to be loved. I wanted to fit in. I wanted somebody to tell me that my story was worthwhile. But that's the rub, right? You could get all of the validation, all of the praise, all of the glory. You could make yourself so polished and manicured and perfect to the outside world, but it will never be enough. You can never do enough people pleasing to make yourself feel safe, at least not forever. There's some time when the foundation is going to snap and you're going to be left scrambling. So what is constant? What is true? It's that internal navigation system and honoring that internal place, that part of you, even if it feels shameful, even if it feels ugly, that loves Ja Rule, or that loves eating this weird thing, or that loves whatever the case may be. You have to honor that, and you have to trust that it's there for a reason, and that it's good and it's worthwhile and it's true because it is. And I think the more that you can tune in to what that looks like, what that feels like, what that sounds like, the more that the vision is going to form, the more concrete it's going to feel. And it's going to be sure and true and grounded and anchored because it comes from a place not of other people's expectations, not of what you think you need to be doing, not of trying to people please or be loved, but from this internal flicker, this internal flame, this something magical, something bigger that never leaves you and never will. And then eventually the question isn't, is my story worthwhile? Can I realize these dreams? How do I do it? It's, what is the brightest expression of that dream? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? And you find that information through those little interactions with yourself every single day. What do I want to listen to? What do I want to eat today? What brings me joy? If I can't have the brightest expression of my career and I want $20,000 in my bank account, but right now I have $200 in my bank account, what's the one thing that I can do to move the needle closer? Because one day I do believe that my story is worthwhile and that I will eventually have it. When you are asking yourself those questions on a day-to-day basis, slowly but surely, the dream is formed, and it's formed in the truest, most beautiful stone possible. One that is formed of your beautiful, unique expression that is irreplaceable. And that stays with you forever. If you're in this place of, I know there's something deeper in me, it's there for a reason. It's just about gleaning enough information about what that is to form that dream from a really concrete place and believing that it can and will come to fruition. And then I think past that, I'm gonna say something that maybe feels a little bit trite, but then it becomes, being very hyper aware of the actions that you're doing on a day-to-day basis and making sure that you're carving out space to be able to allow your intuition to speak. This could be on a base level, noticing your thoughts. That's why I find journaling to be such a healing and helpful practice. Every morning, showing up to pages, even when I feel like I don't want to, even when I'm bored and just want the easy, cheap stimulation of social media, showing up and letting myself just dump all of my thoughts on the page helps me clearly, physically, tangibly see what's in front of me so that I know what I'm working with. And I can ask myself, is this aligned with the brightest expression? And if not, how can I recalibrate to get a little bit closer to what the brightest expression could be? If you guys are interested, I created a self-reflection journal called Within, because when I started this journey, I was really at the beginning stages of, okay, I know that there's something deeper calling me, but I don't know how to bring that to life. And so what I started doing was asking myself questions and just journaling and seeing what answers popped up. And more often than not, I found that the voice that was speaking in those answers was that internal navigation system that I'm talking about today. In the front, it is filled with over 100 prompts ranging in different categories from higher calling and purpose to connection, money, career, creativity, so that if you're like, I totally hear what you're saying, Tiana, but I just don't know where to start, this is a really good place. And what I've done is I've kept all of the pages blank so that you can show up to your journaling practice if that's what feels aligned, and use Within not as another structure to tell you what you should be doing, but to offer freedom and space and fluidity to let your internal navigation speak. So that is there for you if that feels aligned. Yes, noticing what thoughts are coming up and really carving out the time and space to take notice. A lot of people will advocate for meditation, and I am one of those people. I think when you just give yourself a moment of silence, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 30 minutes, it really does give you the space to quiet that outside noise, to really tune into yourself. I'm somebody who loves a guided meditation. I'll often just YouTube what I'm interested in. Say I want a meditation for self-confidence. I'll just YouTube search meditation for self-confidence and I'll let my intuition speak. Okay, which one feels most aligned? I also love Joe Dispenza's meditations, although I think I've said a couple of different times that they can be a little intense. So if you're just beginning your kind of self-discovery journey, those are ones that I would say maybe wait a little bit. And then I also love Lacey Phillips' Deep Imaginings. She created To Be Magnetic, and that was definitely a key resource that I tapped into a lot on the beginning of this journey. So meditation, journaling, but some people find that these quiet moments exist for them when they turn on one of their favorite songs and dance wildly for 3 minutes, or they find it when they're painting or doing pottery, stream of consciousness writing, or at a coffee shop alone, quiet in a corner. It can really be whatever it is for you, but just knowing that your story is worth it, knowing that your body, your being is a vessel, an envoy for magical potential to happen. And in order to allow that practice to take shape, you really owe it to yourself to carve out 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. I mean, I carve out like an hour to an hour and a half every morning to have my coffee, journal, pull oracle cards, do whatever feels aligned for you. But you deserve that time and space to listen to that and to notice what comes up. Also, another piece of advice I have is noticing your words and what words you're using. And I know this is a big one in spiritual jargon today too. And I don't come from a place of you can never say those things because then you're going to ignite something into existence. I'm more so on the belief that nothing is good or bad. It's all just information that you can try on and decipher if it feels right in your story. But I do think it's important to notice what words you're using and assessing, are those mine? Where do those words come from? What belief are they anchored in? And really having that as like a juicy, tangible nugget to work with and to play with. Another thing that I'll always advocate for is therapy, or really just any objective place where you can voice your opinions and have somebody mirror back to you in a very empathetic, loving, tender way what they're hearing, so that you can work through some of these stickier spots. Because I will be the first to admit that being on a journey of self-discovery sounds glamorous and beautiful and growth-filled and evolutionary, and while yes, it is all of those things, it's also a lot of days spent sobbing and confusion and disorientation and what the am I doing moments. And for those moments when I feel weak, or when I feel fear, or when I feel anxiety creep in and I just don't know if I can continue on, having somebody who is licensed and trained, who can mirror back to me what they're hearing, who can offer up different perspective in a tender, loving, objective way, has been one of the most beneficial things that I think I've ever done for myself ever. So there's a lot of different resources for that. I will say and encourage you to find a therapist or a counselor or somebody to talk to that feels really aligned to you. Because one thing I did was I went to a therapist previously and I could just tell that our beliefs weren't completely aligned, and so it made me feel really uncomfortable showing up to that space. So I will say that your therapist should feel like somebody that you can trust, that feels safe. So I definitely will always advocate for therapy. But really all of this is just packaged in this idea of creating space for yourself to observe what thoughts, beliefs, feelings, emotions, words are coming up, so that you have the space and time to assess if they feel right for you. How can you learn to trust your internal navigation system, learn to trust yourself if you don't first create the time to wipe away all of the confusion and really get centered and grounded in yourself? And really, at the end of the day, that's the most important part of realizing your dreams, of creating your art, of finding your purpose, of doing whatever it is you want to do. It's making sure that the steps that you're taking on a day-to-day basis, on the most granular base level, are aligned with you, your intuition, your internal navigation system. And if there's one piece of advice that I can offer you in this entire video, it's that. But if we are going to get more rooted, more anchored in what that looks like, it's got to be belief that your story is worthwhile, that it matters, that you are an envoy for beautiful, amazing things to happen, that anything that you want can be a reality, and I really do believe that. But then it's about integration, making your life a physical embodiment. And when I say embodiment, like you, this is me right now, right? Living my truest truth by sitting on camera, despite the fact that I only have 500 subscribers, despite the fact that who knows who's listening, and doing this because that's what feels aligned to my soul. And that's really the magic. I really do believe that's the special in bringing your dreams to fruition, into reality, into existence, and being kind of an embodiment of all of the beautiful, wonderful things that can happen in this lifetime. Because while there are a lot of really hard things, I do wholeheartedly in my soul of souls believe that there is lots of beauty to be found here too, and you are a part of that beauty. You really are. I know that you might be watching this video because you feel desperation, or you feel anger, or you feel fear of this unknown of, will it ever happen? Will I be able to bring my dreams to fruition? I just want you to know that I 1010% believe that you will. But I do want to encourage you to create space to listen to what comes up, to follow that internal navigation system, and to keep pointing to your own true north, because that is what I believe to be the quickest, surefire way to get you there. That is all from me. I am rooting for you always. I am cheering you on. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My email's in the description box. If you're interested in Within, I'll leave a link to Within in the description box. And I love hearing comments from you and just seeing what's resonating, what's hitting. So please do feel free to leave me a comment. I know it's a little bit cheesy, but I'm the type of person that just loves the feedback, and I really want to make sure that I'm creating content from a place that feels like it's being receptive. I know on this end that I'm feeling really good and confident and sure about what it is I'm producing and my place in this divine plan, but having the feedback is always helpful to continue to create content that feels really resonant for you. So as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, what I'm sure is a very lengthy video, and being here. It means more to me than I can express. And just know that I'm rooting you on, and that I truly do believe that your story matters. So go out there and realize your dreams.